on your what we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party.
Peace and love, party people in the place to be. This is the BKMC, the MCEO, the Little Lebowski Urban Achiever, Talib Kweli in the place to be. This is the world's best podcast, The People's Party. And of course, I got the world's best co-host, Jasmin Leigh in the place to be. What's up, Jasmin? How you feeling?
Honestly, Talib, I'm going to say I'm burning up because I was trying to be like you with the whole sweatshirt thing, and I don't know how you do it.
You know, I used to do T-shirts on this show, but the studio gets cold because there's a lot of equipment. And so I found myself cold and I started dressing for winter.
It's not for me.
It's not for you?
Uh-uh.
All right, go back to the sexy short stuff.
That's what I need.
Okay.
Winter on top, summer on the bottom.
Word up. Today's guest is someone who was born in New York City, winter on top, but made her name in Miami, summer on the bottom. You like that, right?
Yes, I do.
All right. Very, very, very important voice of hip-hop, a curator, a DJ, a tastemaker, and a true friend of mine. She was recognized by the Miami New Times as the best female air personality and voted best radio personality by the Broward New Times. The Source magazine called her one of the most powerful media personalities in the nation. She is a cover girl. You have heard her on Hot 97 with Cypher and Rosenberg and Ebro. You have heard her as half of the Quincy Harris Morning Show. She had the Foxx show in Philadelphia. This guest has built beyond radio as well. She brings her insight to many, many projects, including the Princess Project. We're going to talk about the Karma Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, we go way, way, way back. Give it up for my good friend Foxx and the place to be. What up, Foxx?
What does the Fox say?
Wow, what an amazing introduction.
You did that. You did that.
My leather sister.
Yay.
How are you?
Hi. Well, let me sit in this chair.
What's up, Foxx?
Hi, James.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. It's beautiful. I'm here. I'm alive. We here.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you have the distinct pleasure.
Oh, this is for me. Thank you
That
for
is
my
yours.
champagne.
That's right. You have the distinct, speaking of champagne, you have the distinct pleasure and honor of being the first guest to be responsible for me having a hangover on
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I'm over here nursing a hangover, and I watched my hangover interview skills because of this woman right here.
They're actually going to be really good because you're still kind of like in that zone. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've done it plenty of times.
Yes, you've been getting me drunk for a long time.
Yes.
Last night we were hanging out, and you told me about your mother's experience at a Prince concert that we were both at. So first of all, shout out to your mom, but can you tell us that story?
Oh my goodness. So this is when Prince performed at MSG, Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. And every time Prince performs, I got to take my mom. She's the reason why I love the movie Purple Rain, why I did a Purple Rain themed birthday party, why I love the man that we known as Prince, rest in peace. But so I'm like, I got tickets to go see Prince, Mom, we going? And this is the year that Kim Kardashian was kicked off the stage by Prince.
Right.
That was that year.
Right. He wasn't having it.
He was like, get out of here. You got to be able to move all that.
Right.
So we're leaving. It's the end of the show. Mind you, Prince rocked out for a good 2.5, 3 hours. So we're leaving, and I was doing the morning show at the time. So I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get to bed, right? So as I'm leaving, I run into you. Right. You coming down the stairs. I'm like, oh, what up, Kweli? Right. And so then my mom is with me. You're like, yo, Foxx, I'm going to the after party, Prince's after party. Do you want to go? I'm like, hell yeah.
Of course you do.
Bye, Mom.
You ditched your mom?
I did. I didn't know what type of debauchery was going to be happening.
At the Prince after parties, we read from the Jehovah's Witness pamphlets.
It was very, very vanilla.
So actually, Talib, when we were in Miami, one of the reasons I didn't go to the Noriega party is because I didn't want to ditch my mom.
Oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to be like, so what are you going to do? You know what I'm
saying? We were in New York. My mom could go home. We were going home anyway.
Story, right?
That was always a part of the plan. It just so happened, here's a detour, but yeah, I'm going to the Prince party. And that was the night that I met Prince.
Yes.
So we walk into the party. Questlove is sitting on top of the couch, and then we just walk in. It was a madhouse to get in. We weren't even sure what was going to happen. And so then right after that, we get in. We're walking through. Cameron Diaz was there with A-Rod at the time. You know, it was one of those type of swaggy New York parties. And then it felt like people just parted ways. And there was Prince. And you said, this is my good friend, Foxx. And he said, it's nice to meet you. I said, it's nice to meet you. Prince! Okay?
Rest in peace to Prince.
Sometimes you got to ditch your mother.
Sometimes.
And that every time I mention Talib Kweli, my mom goes, "Oh, the one that you left me for, and you went to go to the Prince party." I said yes.
Well, shout out to moms.
Mom, thank you for understanding.
I just want to say that I definitely deserve an extra point, Mom, because I did not ditch you.
Yes. Sometimes you never know. You might. You never know what happens.
I know
in the
it was
future.
a good night. I seen you with your Rico Suave shirt dancing all around the Instagram.
Nori is Puerto Rican. He invited me to his anniversary.
I thought he was Dominican.
No, he's Puerto Rican. Yeah, he's a New Rican.
He's
dude.
a New Rican. Okay.
Yeah, he invited me to his anniversary party in Miami.
Yeah.
What you thought I was gonna wear? Jeff Ross said I look like a Cuban drug dealer.
Probably, but it's appropriate then.
But the problem is that it was a black and white party, and I didn't read that part in the flyer. So I looked the most Puerto Rican out of everybody at the party, even though I was the least Puerto Rican
Dominican.
dude. Yeah,
good thing I didn't go because I definitely didn't have any white or black. They're like, who the hell is this random
you would have
bitch
been fine.
in the party?
You would have been fine. So speaking of Miami and parties, you and I met. One of the night that you and I met was one of my favorite nights. I used to go to Mansion and Opium.
Those are good club days.
Yeah.
Amazing. Privé,
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. And the night that we met, you were in a VIP section with your girls, and I had my peoples with me, and we merged, and then we walked from the club to the beach to smoke on the beach. And we've been friends since.
That's the beautiful thing about Miami. You can leave and be like, let's go to the beach.
Yes.
And it's warm, and it's like you're living a hippie life.
Paint us a picture of South Beach in that era when you first moved down there.
Oh, man. You can catch any celebrity at any given time riding in whatever whip they had for the weekend down Collins Avenue, Ocean Drive. And it was a real dope place where celebrities came to just play and be free and let their hair down. And then plus, the music that was coming out of Miami at that time, I was doing a radio show called The Takeover, me and DJ Khaled. So we were breaking a lot of these artists, the Rick Ross, the Flo Riders, the Pitbulls. So all of this Miami sound was just up and coming, and everybody was gravitating towards it. A lot of people came to Miami to record because they wanted inspiration. You know what I mean?
What's the name of that hotel that Pharrell changed it to a studio?
Good Times.
Yeah, right there.
The new one on South
Collins.
Beach. Yeah. I believe it's Good Times. You mean the recent one, right?
It was around that time. It was like he bought one of those hotels that was going out of business and changed it into a studio.
Oh, okay.
I forget the name of the studio.
Okay, I don't know about, but the hotel that he has is called Good Times now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a dope time. The energy was dope, just sexy, super sexy.
Yeah, man. I lived in Miami for a year and a half. And
Where did you live?
I was in the Bay Harbor Islands.
Oh.
In this it was like an $800 studio, but I lived with all rich people and I could walk to the beach. And I was like, fuck it, I don't care that it's so old. Living the party life. But anywho, you're Haitian and
No, I'm not.
You're not Haitian.
No,
so let's just scratch that out and let's, sometimes, it happens.
I guess I'm Haitian by affiliation.
Yeah.
A lot of my good friends are Haitian. Big ups to Melky, Wyclef, Sedeck, Sam, the whole family, Rosie. But my father's from the Congo. So I'm actually the originator. We're all descendants of the Congolese people. And
don't let ADOS hear you say that.
I haven't seen ADOS since you left Twitter. Let's not bring them back up.
Oh yeah, you're
not
kicked
left
off of
Twitter.
That's
Since you've been asked to leave Twitter.
They don't like these Africans. But continue, please.
Yeah.
I also thought that you were Haitian, which is crazy because I've known you for so long.
You just thought I was Haitian by affiliation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. My father's from the Congo. I don't know my dad, but he did, was responsible for one half of this. So
Got you. Well, talk to us about your relationship with Melky and Wyclef and how that developed and the stuff that y'all have done together.
So it's interesting because just how we met at the club, me and Melky met at the club. At the time, there was a club at the Hard Rock, since they redid it, but it's not there anymore. But Opium Group opened up a club at the Hard Rock. Super dope.
Like a Hollywood?
No, at the Hard Rock Hotel, where there's a guitar now.
It's like Hollywood, Florida. Like
it is in Hollywood, Florida.
Yeah. So, but at the time, it was the landscaping was different. There were clubs in the back, restaurants, the whole 9 yards. So me and Melky met at the club, one of the clubs that the Opium Group actually opened back in the day. I think I was either hosting or I went there to go check out DJ Irie. Big up to DJ Irie.
Big up to DJ Irie.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah.
And so one of our good friends actually introduced us. He was like, yo, you gotta meet Melky. This is what she's doing. And she instantly told me about the Karma Foundation, and she was going to Haiti and how she would like for me to come. So I said, you know what? I need to have you on my show to talk about the organization where we're giving back to children, to young women, the whole 9 yards. So I just I'm a giver. I want to make sure that I give back through philanthropy, and we connected on that spiritually. So that's how we met, and we've been friends ever since.
Shout out to the crew.
And we went to Haiti before the earthquake, after the earthquake, and those were amazing experiences.
Yeah, I remember seeing that time in your life. It looked like y'all were having an amazing time.
Oh, amazing. And it continues to have a great time.
I haven't watched this BMF TV show. People like this show, right?
It's dope. Big ups to my boy, Randy Huggins. He is the showrunner, creator, writer. And yeah, he was from Detroit, wrote on the show. I actually recently interviewed him. And yeah, I love that show.
When I was hanging out with you in Miami, the BMF parties was going crazy.
I heard about those.
Yeah. Can you describe what a BMF party was like in Miami at that time?
Okay. So people hear there's a BMF party, you going. Because this is what they would do. They would buy all the bottles at the bar. So if you wanted a bottle, you had to buy it from them. Right. You're like, can I get? No, they got the bottles, right? And then they would have ice sculptures outside the club, just ice sculptures outside the club, and Ferraris and Lambos lined up outside the club. Girls with angel wings and thongs walking around. I mean, I painted the visual, but it was just the vibe. It was, I think this was like towards the tail end where they knew it was probably going to hit the fan.
Right, so they were just going out with a bang.
They was blowing money fast.
Yeah.
Big ups to Ricky Rose. That was literally, they was blowing money fast, but it was a great party time.
Yeah,
you know?
It was.
Yeah, watch BMF. They're actually doing season 2 now, so.
Word. You were raised in Hell's Kitchen. You a Daredevil fan?
You know what? Not so much, but I never knew that he was based in Hell's Kitchen too. I was like, oh, okay. I'm more of a, it's interesting because the Guardian Angels was around at that time when I was growing up in New York. So I'm like, I don't think they had that meant anything, but.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? Curtis? The guy who started the Guardian Angels?
Is it Siwa?
Sliwa, the guy who started Guardian Angels. That's an interesting dude. There should be a documentary on them. That was a wild time in New York. That was a wild time.
I mean, they was really cracking down on a whole bunch of stuff. They were like the vigilantes.
Yeah, but there was I guess I could be wrong about this. There was some overlap because he's an Italian guy. Like he's like mobbed up, that dude. So there was like overlap with the mob stuff. It was like mob police almost.
Yeah. Sometimes you need it.
Yeah. Hell's Kitchen has a very rich immigrant history in New York City. So describe what it was like growing up in Hell's Kitchen as a black woman.
Well, as a black little girl at that time, you had Italians, Irish people, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, all types. It was like a salad bowl of all different types of cultures. But what's dope about it is that there was the arts and culture. Broadway was right down the street. But then you also had, 42nd Street, which did not look like 42nd Street now. It looked like the Deuce.
Pre-Disneyification.
Pre-Disneyification, yes. So it looked like, you ever saw the show The Deuce?
Absolutely.
It was like that. So that's where, when I was going to school, we would actually cut class and go to 42nd Street and be bad little kids.
I used to do that too. From Brooklyn, we used to take the train to 42nd Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's pimps and hoes and all types of stuff. I was a little girl, they were trying to pimp me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it was an interesting time, but I also grew up acting and dancing, so I was heavily into the arts. So it was very polarizing growing up in Hell's Kitchen at that time. Do you know why they call it Hell's Kitchen?
I don't.
From my understanding is that's where a lot of people went to go get a lot of drugs, so you can get anything that you want at any given time. And that's where it was a devil's playground.
Wow.
So, but I'm fortunate for it because it gave me my street savvy. Like you can't get over on somebody like me. But then culturally it was so fulfilling because you had all of these different ethnicities and religious people. 42nd Street is kind of like the crossings of the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Times Square.
Times Square makes New York City the most important city on the planet. And that's why the whole Disney thing is like sad to people from New York because it kind of takes away from that.
It took away the gritty, right?
Yeah.
But it made it safer, but you still like...
Safer for tourists.
Right. There's somewhere else now that there's Hell's Kitchen.
Amsterdam.
Yeah. Hell's Kitchen is such a poetic name for a place to be from, though. It's like, you worked on... with the 52nd Street project, right, as a kid.
Wow, you really did your research. I'm
yeah,
proud
it's
of
the
you.
People's Party. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was like plays and stuff like
Yeah,
that. 52nd Street Project, right?
Yeah, so the 52nd Street Project, I grew up on 52nd Street between 10th and 11th Avenue. And on 52nd Street was PAL, right?
All right.
I was a PAL.
You was a
Athletic
PAL?
League.
Yes, in Roosevelt, Long Island. Yes.
Yes, so
love
I'm
them
a
so
PAL
much.
kid.
I'm
Yes.
a PAL kid.
Hey, man, all cops are bad. Y'all relax.
Well, they did one good thing.
Everybody calm the
don't
fuck
know
down.
about PAL, and I did not know it was just like a New York thing. Like PAL, I feel saved me because
Yes.
they gave me like my mom has a lot of kids, and like I feel like they gave me like the individual attention that I needed, the mentorship that I needed, to where I went on a different path.
That's right. Let
Shout
them
out
know.
to PAL, man.
So inside of
We
PAL,
doing ads with PAL now?
They're not even existing anymore.
well, the one on my block still, it
Why?
still
You know
does.
why? Because no good cops can exist.
It's not. Don't think about the police officers.
It's called the Police Athletic
I know, but
League.
it doesn't really. The police officers don't even be over there.
Yeah, they
It's
really
not.
don't.
It's not
You really
affiliate.
mad for real?
I love PAL. Like PAL. Like I went there after
I didn't mean to
school
make you mad.
during the
Yeah.
summertime. Like they literally they were a part of my life.
She the police.
I'm not the police.
I'm bigging up PAL
I've been
too.
arrested.
You the police too.
Whatever.
Y'all the boys. Y'all them boys. Both of y'all. Both of y'all.
So inside of PAL was the 52nd Street Project. They were on top, right? One day, they were just like, hey, would you like to come and check out our organization? We write plays, we direct plays. It's basically the kid giving children an opportunity to write plays, direct plays, act in plays, all types of stuff. And plus, I was already dancing. So I was already dancing since I was like 5 years old. And so I incorporated that into my art. But it was through PAL that the 52nd Street project existed. And I did that from 8 years old till I was like 17. And I was able to travel to like Block Island, like get out the city and see some other stuff, like see how wealthy people lived. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I also got to write plays and direct plays that was performed at Lincoln Center. Like I'm a true like arts kid, like a theater kid, going to Broadway shows.
Right.
I went to go see Cats through them, all types
This
of
is
stuff.
why you and me are friends, because I also wrote, I didn't get to Lincoln Center, but I also wrote stage plays and acted in plays and would go to see Cats and go to see Les Mis.
Black and Blue.
Go to see Mama I Want to Sing.
Yes.
Go to the Beacon Theater for all the black shows. Yeah.
It's important for kids to have that type of culture growing up, I think. So you see other things, you get outside of whatever world you're living in, so that you see it's possible. And so the 52nd Street made me feel like, 52nd Street Project made me feel like my dreams could be possible.
Right.
And before I graduated professional performing arts high school, I got a chance to perform Shakespeare's 12th night and go to France and perform.
Wow.
I had never experienced, I had to get I had to reissue my passport, but going to Europe was a different experience.
That's today's theme, by the way, getting a passport for all you people, black people particularly.
I got
Get
mine,
your passport.
baby.
That's right.
Jasmine just got
Oh,
hers.
you just got yours?
Oh, dang. Can
You
we
are
face
late to the
face?
party. You are late to the people's party, Jasmine.
Listen,
We are-
I got it because of People's Party, because
That's right.
every time we were interviewing people, I'm just like, damn, I need a freaking passport.
That's right. Get your
So
passport.
I got it.
So wait, you never dated a dude and he took you somewhere? And
Nah,
You never got
I've been
flued
flued
out?
out by
You
a
never got
woman,
flued-
actually. I got flued out recently
She got flued out locally.
to Cabo.
Aren't you
She
glad
got
you
a
had your
passport
passport
now.
ready?
But
Aren't you glad you had your passport ready?
yes, I did. And she was trying to take my daughter too, but she didn't have a passport yet. But anyway,
Well, you do the media coaching, right?
Yes, yes.
And she was media coach for Masego when he first started his career.
oh wow, who we're interviewing?
Who we're interviewing later
Yes.
today.
Yeah.
who's-
Masego's a good guy.
Who
Super
has a
talented.
great song called Passport, which we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Loving your segue.
You like that? I'm segue God.
So okay, Talib, what you said about being able to see more. I was just having a conversation. Not only did I do PAL, I did this program called Defy, and they took us to like rodeos and stuff like that. And no rodeos. Like,
Where was this?
I lived in Roosevelt.
Okay.
It had to be somewhere deep in Long Island where we went to go see a rodeo, or maybe it was like traveling or whatever. But I would have never went to go see a rodeo. And it's like when you see those things and you know there's more than just your four walls.
Yes. Yes.
She out there taking hay rides with police.
You really the boys. Okay, Talib. So you were talking about you danced with Alvin Ailey, and my mother wanted to be a dancer, so we actually like used to watch performances and things of that nature. Do you plan to get back into dancing or the arts, and can you take us through that experience as well?
I got my dancing skills through my mom, and she was a dancer most of her life, and she ran a dance troupe as well in Long Island. So
Hey, Chris.
I literally like came out of the womb to that beat of the African drum. I promise you, because she was teaching dance class up until she was 9 months pregnant with me. So it was.
I'm really picturing what you just said, by the way.
Right?
Like
the dancing baby coming out.
Right.
And so I just love dancing, and I was dancing since I was 5 years old. Broadway Dance Theater of Harlem. And then when I went to professional performing arts, they got a contract with Alvin Ailey, which afforded us, these city kids, I can't afford to go to Alvin Ailey. Like, that's very expensive, you know? So thank goodness for performing arts for procuring that that contract with them, and I was able to go.
Yeah.
We would look, the kids that like were on scholarship there, whatever, there was like these kids. It was very competitive, but it taught me a whole bunch of discipline. I mean, it was the best training ever, ever.
I remember going, it's funny because I have memories of seeing Alvin Ailey because there was a show, Judith Jamison was still doing her thing, and I remember going to these shows and I was thinking, like, when you just said it was expensive, I'm like, damn, how's my parents taking me? And I'm like, I didn't go with my parents. I went with school.
See?
Yeah.
School trips.
See?
And that's why schools need the arts.
Yes. So important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Why did you wait till 5 to start dancing? I just put my daughter in.
What?
Well, no. Because your mom was a
please continue.
because your mother was a dance teacher.
Well, I mean,
which is what
going to dance class.
Oh, okay.
Because, you know, when you're 2, 3, you know, you're.
I just sent my daughter. She's in her 3rd class tomorrow.
No, that makes
Saturday.
your question makes sense. It's just the way you framed it sounded funny.
Okay.
Like, damn, you waited till you was 5? What's wrong with you?
Well, that was her face when she said I didn't have a passport. So
You should have had your passport.
And you should have been dancing by 3. What's wrong with you?
right?
But yeah, I mean, just basically going to dance class. That's when I felt like I was able to listen and take direction, you know. But and then after that, it was a go. But like before then, I wasn't thinking about going to dance class because you have to be prepared and you got to get the uniforms.
Yes.
It's expensive.
Back when Jasmine went to school, they only went to the 5th grade, and then they had to get jobs.
That's a rough life.
It is expensive, but I want my daughter to be a dancer, and I feel like if I start now, she'll love it.
No, you're right. I mean, you know, King Richard, he had kids just to have tennis pros.
That's good. That's good you have a dance now.
It is dope. Make me think I should do the same with my son.
Put him in there. He likes
my
to get
son
down.
gonna be looking like Prodigy on the Summer Jam screen. Rest in peace to Prodigy.
Rest in peace, Prodigy.
You went to Shaw University.
Shaw U.
HBCUs.
So many HBCU people on the show, and
Look at us. Look at us. Look
yeah,
at
man.
us.
I have to say that I am somebody who I had the when I went to NYU. I didn't even consider.
I'm just kidding.
No, but
I'm just kidding.
I went to New York University.
Yes,
but I didn't even consider an HBCU at that age in my life because I was already so pro-black. I just didn't feel like I needed
more blackness.
Yeah, I felt like I'm black enough. You know what I'm saying?
But you were raised differently.
Black man.
I was raised
a
different.
lot of
Look at my shirt. I'm wearing a shirt that says
Black
black
man.
man.
Yeah.
Like, but doing this show has given me a new level of respect for HBCUs.
Why is that?
His amazing co-host.
Because of my amazing
What
co-host.
school did you go to?
FAMU.
Okay, FAMU.
Right. But so many guests, really FAMU and Howard really is like takes the lead with this shit. But
listen, Shaw University strives for excellence. Why not the best? Willie E. Gary was one of the most successful lawyers that came out of Shaw.
Talk your shit. Talk your
big
shit.
Up to Flip Murray. You know what I'm saying?
Big up
He
to
was
Flip.
a basketball player.
Flip.
Lance Bottoms, Will Packer.
But let's just say HBCUs in general, right? The black excellence. And what I realized is, like Jasmine said, I had a unique experience having very anti-racist, very pro-social justice-minded parents. And I had blackness all through my house growing up. And it was part of my experience. A lot of the people who speak on the show come to the show. We had Lady London. She spoke about this. Anthony Anderson spoke about this, about how this is the first time they were ever around this amount of blackness and how it inspired them. And the success rate, how the HBCUs are killing it. Like, it's just amazing to see.
Yeah, it is.
family.
And plus, Shaw University was one of the first HBCUs in the South. So there's a long history there. And it was a smaller setting, so you didn't have all these kids taking one class at one time, so you definitely felt more personable. And not to mention, I mean, big ups to all the Greek organizations. That's an experience within itself, going to the step shows, the talent shows, you know, so it's an experience, and HBCU is an experience. You got to focus now, because the parties do all that. But if you're there, at least by your sophomore year, make sure you get your major together. But I love my experience, and some of my lifelong friends I made at an HBCU. Still to this day, my girl Crystal, my girl Yuji, my girl Ish. You know what I mean? We all still hang out till this day, and we're lifelong friends. So
now, is this where you developed your love for radio?
I've always loved radio. I mean, growing up in New York City, I mean, hello, Hot 97. You know what I mean? Like that's where you heard everything first. That's where you heard the new battle songs. That's where you heard everything. And I was a kid that was rewinding lyrics like, oh, the new Biggie's out. I was that kid growing up in New York. So as far as getting started in radio, it was when I was at Shaw University. There was a jazz station there. And on the weekends, they would allow us to play hip hop on Saturdays. And they were still spinning records. So there was this young lady, and she was like, hey, why don't you come? Because my major was mass communications. She was like, why don't you come to the jazz station and come with us and come fuck around or whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah. So we did that. And it actually gave me an appreciation for jazz because I didn't know about it. So listening to the jazz station and listening to the music that was being played before we went on, it educated me as well. We would do that. And then she told me about an internship at WQOK 97.5. And I got my internship. And then it was, on and popping from there.
Yes. Stretch and Bobbito. We had them on the show. They're heroes of mine. Heroes in the radio space. They have a documentary, Radio That Changed Lives. Have you seen this?
I saw it.
Sure, I was trying to make the connection between college jazz being played at college radio, creating a space for hip hop. Because at Columbia University, you had WKCR, which is a jazz station. But on Thursday nights, they let Stretch and Bobbito fuck around. And that became the most important show in hip hop. So that's very similar to your thing. And they named their show Radio That Changed Lives. You have a quote that I love. Radio is the theater of the mind.
Yes.
What are the similar, and you have a theater background. So how did you come up with that quote?
We're telling stories, you know, when I was growing up in radio, because whether you're in your car, maybe you're taking a shower, listening to somebody, we were the people, well, I wasn't on radio at the time, but the way that it made me feel was that I got all the gossip. You know what I mean? I felt like the person that I was listening to was my friend. Like they were that conduit to the celebrities. They had that access. And then on top of that, when you had certain bits, it was kind of like listening to a story. And you had to have the sound effects. You know what I mean? You got to paint the picture visually so that you can envision it in your mind through your audio skills. So that's what I'm saying, it's theater of the mind. And then plus, when I started doing radio, even if I was having a bad day, I still had to show up for my listeners and my people. And I was essentially talking to myself when I had my own radio show. So it's like the theater of the mind is real. You got to entertain yourself. You have to be like, even if you're talking to millions of people, focus on that one person. What is your demographic? What is your target? I'm getting real radio-y.
No, that's why I asked the question.
Who is your target audience?
This is the golden age of podcasting is what we were talking about on the show. And it's a carryover from the golden age of radio. People forgot about radio, but like when you watch movies like The Book of Eli, post-apocalyptic movies, the only thing left is radio. That's the airwaves is the only way that we have left to communicate with each other when everything goes sour.
You know, it's interesting that you said that because I think the pandemic was kind of apocalyptic. Like it felt very apocalyptic. Anytime,
it gave us a preview of what we could be.
Yes. Anytime you see Times Square shut down, Broadway the lights never go down in Broadway. The show must go on. That is the motto of Broadway. The show must go on. When the show stopped, NBA stopped, NFL, you're like, whoa, what is really happening in the world? And I think that became like a platform for podcasts to exist again, or people to care about podcasts because now you're telling your stories. Now you're sharing your stories. Now you're being personable. Now you want to hear the background of what motivates you, what drives you. So I think that kind of podcasting reemerged because of the pandemic.
I think it was on an uptick, but the lockdown made it be like, okay, now it's official.
People wanted something real again. Instead of the fluff, they wanted real stories from real people.
Which is now, I read an article in the Atlantic magazine recently that said for the first time, like almost ever, old music is outperforming new music.
Because it's a feeling. It's not fake. It's not
feel-good music.
It's feel-good music. Yes. And you know who was instrumental in doing that? I think D-Nice.
D-Nice,
you know?
Absolutely. D-Nice being a hip-hop DJ, his immaculate knowledge of hip-hop, and him creating this global party. And then for me, it goes from D-Nice to Versus. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the 1-2 punch made it be like, okay, we all used to work these 9-to-5s to get money to buy the new outfit, so you could go to the club, so you could hear the new song, so you could do the new dance, so you could be current. None of that mattered anymore.
Yep.
Now what matters is, well, let's look at what we already have, because there's no outside for us to congregate to listen to something new.
Remember, we were having a conversation when the pandemic happened. As artists, people, we're used to being social. We're used to going out, feeling that energy, feeling the energy from the audience that you would get when you perform. Then it's like, who am I? Where's my voice? You know, what do people care about?
Right.
And that feel-good music was a time where you can, whether it was nostalgia or even feeling uplifted, people wanted to feel uplifted again because it was so dark.
And you know, also with the whole pandemic, as a person that's on the other side, you felt like you were partying with some of your idols, because everyone's writing in the comment section, acting as if they're in the club, like, oh, look, pour me up another one or whatever. And they're not responding, but you're being able to respond what they wrote to. So it felt like just like a huge family barbecue.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of parties, we're going to go back to Miami for a second.
Okay.
Because you left Raleigh, North Carolina.
Big ups to Raleigh.
And you transferred to Miami and you started working at 99 Jams. Classic hip-hop story.
The Heritage Station.
Yes. Weekends and overnights, you started with that. And then you ended up getting this show with DJ Khaled, The Takeover. So tell me about meeting DJ Khaled and starting The Takeover.
Oh, wow. Where do I begin? So Khaled was at the station since he was like 13 years old. Like, he was a kid carrying crates for the other DJs.
And for people who were listening, Khaled was one of the early champions of my music and Raucous when he was on radio back in the days. And a lot of people know Khaled as like the social media personality and don't understand.
Another one.
Yeah, they don't understand really his like roots in the culture of hip hop.
And he was a big reggae DJ as well.
Yeah, he was killing the reggae parties.
He had a few names, but he had to change that up after 9/11 and stuff like that. But I had the option to work with other co-hosts, but Khaled basically pitched himself so well to me because it was my show, essentially. The night show was my show. Big ups to Cedric Hollywood, Derek Baker, Jerry Rushing, that gave me the chance to do that, come to Miami and basically blossom. But they said, hey, this slot is, I was doing 10 to 2, and then they boosted me up to 6 to 10. So boom, here's the night show. Who's going to be my co-host? So there was a few candidates that they were looking at. Big ups to Papa Keith. And then he ended up taking another opportunity. And then Khaled was like, yo, it's going to be me and you. You know, he gave me that talk. He gave me the Khaled talk, you know? And so then boom, I'm like, all right, let's do this. And then The Takeover was birthed, and it was the #1 night show for like 7 years in Miami, and we broke a lot of artists and had a lot of fun. And then at the same time, he was working on his albums, and I would see his work ethic as like none other. Like, he's not taking no for an answer, but at the same time, he wasn't the easiest person to work with either. He was not the easiest person to work with, you know what I mean? But I also think that was an interesting time and experience. So I'm happy for it, but it was definitely an interesting time.
When DJ Khaled's album came out, I was so confused because I'm like, he's not rapping. Like, how is it his song featuring? And then I realized the whole dynamics. But what did you learn? Like, what was the biggest takeaway from working with him?
Never take no for an answer. You know, the work ethic is there. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned. And I've also learned to keep my composure in certain situations. Because, you know, when you are working with somebody on a daily basis, it's kind of like a marriage. You know what I mean? So people come in, so people come in with all their issues. You got issues, and then you got to deal with each other, and you got to produce, and you got to make results. In radio, where are you? It's always about ranking and #1 in numbers. So it's very competitive. It's a very competitive market in Miami. So we still got to win at the end of the day. Even though you got this going on, that going on, we still got to make shit happen. So
and your job is on the line.
And your job is on the line. Every single day, your job's on the line. You hear your job's always on the line. So
I mean, that's
entertainment. I always think like, am I crazy for being in this industry? Because it's not forgiving. This shit don't love nobody.
You're only as good as your last one.
Yeah, it don't love nobody. So definitely taught me how to stick-to-itiveness. Is that a word? You know what I mean?
Stick-to-itiveness. You just invented
You made
that.
it up. There we go, Webster.
Stick-to-itiveness.
Let's do it.
Stick to it. That's what it means. Stick-to-itiveness. And learning how to work with others, playing the sandbox together, and standing up for myself. I had to stand up for myself plenty of times in different situations.
Now, speaking of standing up for yourself, let's talk about you going to New York City, where you're from, coming back home to what at that time you described as your dream job, working for essentially Hot 97 created what we know as hip hop radio. They created the format. There would be no 99 Jams. There would be no Power 106 in LA. There would be none of these KMEL in the Bay Area, none of this. That format of hip hop radio.
But you know what's so interesting about Hot? It was the station that played freestyle. It was really it's a pop station.
They played like Stevie B records, like you gotta believe there's something inside of me.
You know why I think also Hot 97 was so big? Because in New York, everybody listens to Hot 97. There's no other
whether you listen
station.
to hip hop or not, you're saying.
Right, but when you move to like, say for instance, okay, I moved to Tallahassee. The Tallahassee radio stations are not the same as the Miami radio stations or the Orlando radio stations. Where in New York, that was like what everyone.
Well, so New York, it started. Hot 97 was on Emmis, right? And when it started in New York, it was a freestyle station, and Funkmaster Flex was bringing him in on Friday and Saturday nights for an hour or two on the freestyle station to play hip hop records because hip hop was taking over the clubs. So we need a hip hop hour on our set. Funkmaster Flex program on Hot 97 became the highest rated program in the city for so long that the program directors at the time was like, we need an all hip hop station. Forget this freestyle music. And they built the station based on what Flex was doing, which is the origin story of why Flex is still there, because it was really built around him. So now it's like, it's like
he's grandfathered in,
right?
He's grandfathered in. And so the morning zoo format, right? The morning show format it started in New York City by Scott Shannon on Z100, and that became when Z100 is also Emmis, right?
Damn, that's a pop quiz. I'm not sure.
But so back then it was
these corporations.
When Clear Channel came in, right? Clear Channel came in. Emmis had to step up their game because Clear Channel started taking the format,
which is iHeartRadio,
which now right, started taking the format and making every station across the country the same. Back when with the time you're talking about, every market had its own vibe. But then when the corporations started merging,
now it sounded like a monopoly.
Yeah, it's like fuck that. So now it's like the same playlist has to be played, the same bumpers. That's what Big Boy was talking about. We had Big Boy, and he was talking about how his numbers went down when he went into syndication because now he can't speak specifically to LA. So that made his numbers go down as a whole. Yeah, because now he got to try to be national.
Exactly, generic.
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't really, and he said he then figured out, let me tape it for LA. Let me tape what I'm going to do and then be live in LA.
Yes.
But let's talk about Hot 97. When you first got there, Cypher, correct me if I'm wrong, Cypher Sounds or Rosenberg already, they were trying to have them do the morning show.
Yes.
And they added you, and it became, it's a black...
A Puerto Rican and a Jew.
All right. Cypher Sounds is a good friend of mine. Rosenberg is a pretty fairly decent friend of mine. I never liked that promo. I remember being in the city, seeing those billboards, and being like...
Wow, I have billboards in New York City,
Yeah, you did.
Right? Yeah.
As soon as you got there.
Yep.
Because I also feel like they needed you. They needed
the way that it was pitched to me was that we need a black woman
that's what it felt
that
like.
Knows hip hop, that's from New York, that has roots here, and you know your stuff. That's how it was pitched to me. That's why I was like, I'm going to move from Miami, my quality of life job, my tested and proven job, that company that treated me very well, that I was loved at, to take a risk, right? And move my lifestyle to New York, because if you didn't make it in New York, you can't make it nowhere. I'm back in New York City at Hot 97. I'm in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I'm at the Super Bowl.
Right.
But then it's kind of like, I felt like what I was hired for, I was also slighted for. It was very polarizing. But I'm listening.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing you, and that's how it felt to me as an outsider. I felt like that campaign insulted our intelligence.
Because it's supposed to be like a joke.
Yeah, a black guy, white guy walk into a room.
What ensues?
I get it, but it felt like, it felt forced because I knew y'all really didn't know each other like that. And it felt like this black woman doesn't represent black people because black people are not a monolith. This Puerto Rican dude doesn't represent Puerto Ricans because, matter of fact, there might be black people who agree more with a point Cypher made, or might be, Jewish people who agree more with K. I just felt like it was lazy.
Yeah. I mean, that was the program director's idea, and we ran with it. We're like, okay, let's make this work.
Now, was Tracy the program director at the time, or was Ebro program director by the time?
It let's talk about Ebro. You were on Gossip Game, and you guys got into a heated argument about your sex life, which I think is 110 million% inappropriate. He made a joke pretty much saying that you slept your way to the top, and he made it on air, not even like in private. So I want to know how you dealt with that situation, how it was working with Ebro, and if you guys still are in contact today.
Well, I think it was an interesting dynamic because me and Ebro, we was cool. We was friends before I got hired for the job. And so then once I was there, I felt like I was more of a threat than an asset. And I'm like, if I shine, you shine. Why would I be a threat if I'm shining and I'm making the station relevant again? Let's be clear. The only reason why the Gossip Game came and wanted to include Hot 97 was because of this Black woman and what the grind that I was doing to get there and the work ethic. And then once he tried to belittle that, it was hurtful, and I checked him on it. If you watch the Gossip Game in the scene, I checked him on it. And he kind of brushed it off like it was cool. It's very misogynistic. And it felt like I was not protected. I was definitely not protected at that station. And it was very hurtful because you know my pedigree. If you don't know my pedigree, why am I there?
Right.
You hired me.
Right.
Why would you belittle me like that? Why would you make my character look like it's not?
And this is what I hate because I've been accused of sleeping my way to the top. I've slept with Talib to get here. Me and Talib haven't slept together.
I'm like, tell me about it.
He was, like
I missed this.
I literally someone asked me that or whatever.
Who asked you this?
I'm not gonna say their name.
Oh. But was it somebody that you respected?
I thought we were cool. And she asked me this, she really thought this was true. Like they were having conversations about it. And let's say I did sleep my way to the top. So fucking what? Is that not work?
But you know what? Hoes be winning now. If you look at the people that are on the top right now, it's like they are sleeping their way to the top, right? And then it's kind of like my journey has been different because that's not my thing.
Right.
So
but
my journey is much
who cares?
slower. My journey is going to be, I can look in the mirror and say, I got here on my own merit and I work for this shit.
Yep.
So it's different. But then if you are halfway decent and you have half a sense about you, oh, you must have slept. You must have did this.
Right.
And it's very degrading.
As if men aren't sleeping with their bosses, with writers, with casting directors, with the whole nine. And honestly, I feel like men sleep with women to get ahead more than women do to men.
I mean, I know I've done it.
You laugh, but have you?
You just look like a Dave Chappelle face when you did that. And I'm, Talib, live your life, man. Because if you get into the top, I'm right along with you.
That's right. Take it for the team, Talib.
Right. Ain't no I in team.
Yeah. Oh, so it was an interesting time. I definitely stood up for myself, and it was hurtful. I don't think that I deserve that.
No, you didn't.
At all.
Well, I'll say this. Ebro is also a good friend of mine. Ebro is somebody who I had a relationship with before he got to Hot 97. Back when he was in Sacramento, he was
And that's interesting that a man that was never born in New York is running hip-hop in New York City, but that's a
whole different
conversation.
Story. But I'll say this. As a friend of Ebro's, I was very disappointed by that joke. I know that he was joking. I still think that the joke was inappropriate.
It was on air.
Yeah,
right.
It was inappropriate. I know that he doesn't actually feel that way about you, but it was. I felt hurt
feel that way.
As someone who loves both of you. Right. I felt like that was wrong.
It's not cool.
But let's talk a little bit about sexism and misogyny and how it's changed and the responses to it have changed over the year. Because again, we're talking about Gossip Game, and you were on this program, but go ahead.
So with the sexual harassment, a lot of times you don't even know that you're being sexually harassed. You don't know that something is wrong because it seems so normal. And back during those days, it's like when the whole Me Too movement started, I used to do background acting. We had to do like a whole seminar. And I was like in shock at all the shit that was sexual harassment. So I'm like, they really...
You as a woman.
Me as a woman, I was like, if you're at work talking about, having sex the night before, that's harassment. Because honestly, people don't want to know about who you're fucking. And when I saw that, I was like, damn, how many restaurants have I been like talking about my night before excursions, and how many people did I harass and not even know about?
Well, that's where the context comes in, because it's based on like your contract or your relationship with that person.
Right.
And if you don't have that level of intimacy with that person,
then you shouldn't be sharing.
But you know what's so interesting? In radio, it's like you are giving of your experiences and yourself, especially morning radio. It's like therapeutic. You're talking about your issues, your real life experiences. So it's like when we have conversations with my coworkers, it was a weird line because you had to talk about these things.
Right.
And since it was a boys club, I was always a part of a boys club. I didn't know how to be dainty and like, and plus I grew up with 3 brothers. So I was always that little tomboy that could talk, that could give it to him just the way I receive it in the boys club. But then there is certain ways that, and also the boys club should protect the women that are in the boys club.
Yeah, I agree.
And that didn't happen. That does not happen. They end up wanting to objectify you. And then when you stand
protect
up,
each other.
or protect each other. And then when you stand up for yourself, like, hey, you crossed the line, you know, then you're not cool anymore.
Right. You're an angry Black woman.
Oh, I got pitted as an angry Black woman on Hot for a very long time.
Right.
When you were at Hot 97, your dream job, you know, you and me, when you were in New York, we weren't hanging out that much. We'd run into each other at parties.
Yeah.
We hung out more in Miami.
Yes.
But you seemed stressed
Yes.
when you were there. And then you end up leaving. Can you walk us through that time?
Well, morning radio was stressful anyway. It's not natural. You're going to sleep at 9, 10 o'clock. Mind you, I was leaving a night show from 6 to 10, where after I would leave the night show, I would go maybe to the strip club, because that's where a lot of people were going to premiere their new music. So you're going out, meeting up with this artist, Yo Foxx, come through the studio. I was the studio
Prince
person.
concerts.
You know? Well, that was in New York.
Right.
But so then people come in town, Yo Foxx, where you at? So I'm living we call it the underworld life. Not the square life, but the underworld life, because now you're with the celebrities, entertainers. You don't have a 9 to 5 where you got to be up at the crack of dawn.
Right.
Now it's totally flipped, because now I got to be in bed by 9. Now I got to be like, okay, I can't go here, because I had to discipline myself. So I lived this savage, wild animal life to going to like square. I can't do this, guys, because I got to be home. So that's why I was stressed out too, because my whole lifestyle switched up. Right. And then living in New York, it was just a different thing, because it was like I'm dealing with family again, you know, and that also brings you back
obligations.
to a different mindset as well. And then working with your coworkers and learning a new environment and maintaining a number 1 slot in a market like New York. It's stressful. There would be like these lists that we would have about the most stressful jobs, you know, and I think the top 5 was radio and television. It's very stressful and it's very competitive when you're always living on that edge, always about numbers. And then it's very cutthroat. So you never know, hey, this person's going to come in. All right, you're done.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the reality that we're living in. So it was a very stressful time.
Right. Now, speaking of stress and mental health, we try to have conversations about that on this show. And the Gossip Game. This young lady from the Gossip Game, Jazz Fly.
Oh, yes.
She ended up committing suicide last year.
Yeah, it was a heavy time, because Jazz Fly was actually one of the people that I connected with on the reality show. She was down to earth. Like, outside of us doing a scene together, we would go and maybe have sushi again and kind of decompress and talk about the scene and connect, you know? Yeah. So she was one of the people that I connected with on the show. And I saw the headline, like, I had to Google it. I was like, what? Wait, what? This is during the pandemic. And it was very surprising, very hurtful. And then I hit up Charlamagne the God, because I know they were really good friends, and we were just at a loss for words. Yeah. You know, I didn't know what she was going through. She was a writer for This Is Us, very talented writer. And it was a shock.
Yeah, a lot of people, I saw a lot of mental health issues around me during the first lockdown. And it's so stressful. And she seemed like such a powerful young lady, and she seemed like someone who really was compassionate and maybe very deeply feeling. So, you know, condolences to her family. Yes. Definitely. I didn't like, we talk about reality TV all the time. Jasmine's a fan of it. A lot of people.
Did you watch The Gossip Game?
I watched it for research, but I don't know how that escaped me. It was a point during college where I like wasn't watching TV.
It was only 1 season, and it came on. It was like weird. But The Gossip Game was supposed to be about women that's in media and the work ethic and what does it take to get to maybe the latest interview, the hustle and bustle that it takes. Right. That's how it was pitched to me anyway. And then I felt like the show turned into The Gossip Game on us.
That's exactly right.
We were in The Gossip Game now.
They made it about y'all. And I'm not someone who does Bible quotes.
Okay.
But I find it interesting that so many people who consider themselves Christian really celebrate gossip when the Bible is so much against gossip?
It's
very salacious.
A perverse person stirs up conflict and gossip separates close friends. Proverbs 16:28. A gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Proverbs 11:13. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. These are things that the Bible says. And so I found myself, it was hard for me to watch because I have loving relationships with so many people on the show. Kim, Angela, Ebro, you, Cypher, I'm watching how what I felt like was the producer of the show set up traps for y'all and pitch y'all against each other. And was that the case?
I think that definitely became the case. And then once I started to see what the narrative was for me, I was like, I put my foot down and I said, I will no longer do these random ass lunch meetings with these girls that I don't have.
Yeah, what's up with the Kiki meetup lunch shit that they did 5-6 times an episode? Please,
don't
expert.
judge me. But I did read a book. It's called Not All Rosé and Tiaras or something like that. It's a book about the housewives. And they did studies with reality TV and they realized that episodes are better when it's a group of people rather than just following your own life. But when you have people that don't actively hang out together, no offense, but that's probably why one of the reasons it didn't work out, because you want to see a genuine connection between the people. You don't want just a bunch of randoms arguing about nothing.
Exactly, and that's what it became. Yeah. So then what I did was I had to say, I'm going to control my narrative. And then that's when I was like, okay, well, what am I doing right now? What is happening in my life that I can feature and show the work? And that's when I decided to hit up my friend Melky, who was directing a video at the time with her brother Wyclef in Miami. I said, you know what? Producer at the time, let's go and show the work. Let's show a woman director casting one of her best friends in this role. Let's show the costume. Let's show the makeup. Let's show what it takes in order to produce this amazing video. Let's show the storytelling or the storyboard and how you come up with the concept.
Right,
you know what I mean? Let's show the work. And it's fun. You know what I mean? It's a part of hip. We shoot videos. This is what we do. I've been shooting videos in Miami for a very long time. This was an extension of that. Let's show that. Right. So then it kind of looked like I was kind of like doing my own show within the show, because I had to put my foot down and say, I'm not going to follow their narrative and just kiki with a whole bunch of people that I don't have anything in common with.
Yeah. And also, like, Love and Hip Hop was cracking at the time.
Yes.
And we know a lot more about the mechanics behind building a reality TV show and how they take advantage of people, how they get everybody drunk.
Oh, there's a lot of devil whispering happening.
Yeah.
So basically what they'll do, if I can, tell you how the sausage is made.
Please.
They'll set you up for a scene. They'll lick you up, right? So you're already on that juice. And then they'll show you.
Do they do that while you're getting your hair and makeup done?
Kind of. Yeah, they'll give you whatever you want. What do you need? You cool? Da, da, da. Then they'll show you a scene that the person that you're about to go into a scene with, if they were talking shit about you, they'll show that scene so you have it in your head. So that person's sitting there like, hey girl. Then you're like, well, I heard you was talking shit about me. And so you're already on.
And you have to say, I heard. You can't say, I saw.
Whatever it comes out.
Yeah.
However it comes out. But you're already charged up. Because you see these shows where it goes from 0 to 100 real quick. That's why. Because that person's in their mind like, yo, you talking shit? We're going to handle it right now.
And by the time Gossip Game comes on, well, we've had 10, 15 years of reality TV. So now people come in like, oh, I know I have to act like Flavor of Love. Or I know I have to act like I Love New York. Right? I know in order to get screen time, I got to turn it up.
And not for nothing.
And then break down how you said they pay them
based on the episodes that they're in.
Right. So
if you don't have
you're
you don't have enough
incentivized
drama
to be dramatic.
You only make it big if you're yourself. So I don't know why people keep coming and trying to put on a persona of someone else. No one's gonna like you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's why I was like, I'm no longer participating in the narrative that they're trying to give me. So I'm going to create my own.
Word.
And that's what I did.
What, in your opinion, has been your best interview?
You know what? I think I've done a lot of great interviews.
Of course.
But I think the one that I always get traction for, and I even gained new fans, really young fans, was my Tentacion interview, the XXX interview.
That was a good one.
Yeah. And mind you, okay, so here's the background. I did not know who he was before he walked into the studio. I got, okay, let me Google him. He had some beef with Drake. He just got arrested for basically kicking his pregnant baby mama down the stairs. All types of just crazy stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to sit down with this man and like have eye-to-eye conversation.
A child at that point.
A child, 19 years old, okay? Cult following, just got out of jail, all types of stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I approach this? I got nephews. It's a conversation. I'm a media coach as well. So it's like a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Let me get to know who you are. What motivates you? What drives you? And it ended up being a really dope, personable interview because I was just myself and so was he. And a lot of his fans always go back to that interview to see who he was as a person. We laughed, we joked, we talked about his background, his music, and he was unapologetically himself because I asked, and then I got into the Drake part when they had beef and he was like, you know, if he was a man, I would have done whatever for free, but he didn't address me like that. And then he said, F Drake. People wouldn't do that because they would feel like that was the end of their career. But he was bold enough to take that stance, and he gave that to me, and because he felt comfortable in that space. I was just being inquisitive and curious about the situation. And so I think that was a really open and honest interview, and it went viral. Like Billboard picked it up. It got like 13 million hits, you know? So I think that's one of my most viral and best interviews with XXXTentacion.
Word.
And then so you say his name perfectly.
He taught me during the
right. And you was in Florida, so you had to know his name.
Yes.
How do you pronounce your name? Right? And then he broke that. And he was a really smart kid.
Yeah. That's how I should have did Don Lemon.
Why? What happened?
We need to do Don Lemon again because we only had a half an hour interview with him.
Me and Don Lemon had an argument on the air when I was protesting in Ferguson. Well, I was upset because I didn't like he was disrespecting me. I felt that we solved it now. That's my homie now. Okay. We solved it, but I thought he was disrespecting me. But while we're arguing, when I pulled up, he was like, "What's your name again?"
So he didn't know how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, so I said that on the air. I was like, "You don't even know how I am. You don't even know how to say my name." And that took away. People were like, "He just mad because he don't know how to say his name."
Okay, but a lot of people really don't.
Well, Talib says his name differently than his mother.
Shout out to Don Lemon. This is what he said. This was his comeback, and I got to give him credit for it because this was a good one. He said, it's not true, but it was a good one. He said, "Hey, I don't know how you pronounce your name. Some people call me Don Lemon." No, they don't. Nobody
calls you Don Lemon.
It's an accent. All right. So on the other side, what has been your most difficult interview?
The Migos.
Really?
Yeah.
Do I look like I left off the Bad and Bougie?
No,
well, you seen how they was about to get Joe Button.
This was way before that popped off. So I was on air in Miami at 103.5 The Beat, 6 to 10 p.m. during the night show. And I had a mix show that happened in between. Big ups to DJ Epps. And 8 o'clock, it happens. Radio, you're like this. You were on the clock, all right? You got commercials to play at a time. You don't have time to wait for anybody. My boy Stevie J, he does live on Sundays and stuff like that, was working with
DJ Stevie J.
Right,
Stevie J.
I know a Stevie J.
Yeah, he's been going through this his whole DJ career.
Yes, the DJ Stevie J. He had a song with the Migos that he wanted to get premiere, right? So he missed Papa Keith's show, so now he's trying to get on my show. So you was already late from one show, trying to get on my show. I'm gonna give you some time. Make sure you on time. This is how, at least let me get a rapport, especially I'm going to interview Migos. Let me get a rapport so I can ask the questions that I want to ask, get them comfortable, keep it moving. He shows up late. I'm getting, can I say the F word?
We can say whatever word you want.
We don't curse on this show.
I'm getting to the fucking. It's called get to the fucking, right?
Get to the fucking.
Get to the,
break
it
that
means
down.
like you're going to get to.
Get to the fucking?
That means get to the question. Let's get down to.
Get to the fucking.
Let's get down to business.
Okay, I'm going to incorporate that.
If you're in the porn world, it's like, let's get to the fucking. Fuck the foreplay.
Get to the fucking.
We're going to get to the fucking, right?
Get it
right. I'm thinking of Boogie Nights. It's my big dick, Jack. I want to fuck now. I'm ready to fuck now.
That's right. Let's get to the fucking.
My big dick, and I want to fuck.
That's right. That's the essence of it. So in my mind, I'm like, we're gonna get to the fucking. Since y'all are late, I don't have time for all the fluff. I don't have time to fluff you up, okay? So
and for those who don't know what a fluffer is,
tell them what a fluffer is.
Hey, get to the fluffing.
A fluffer is someone that sucks the penis before it's ready to perform in the porn.
Perform in the porn. So, okay, this is what happened. So Migos was in Miami, and I was at Cafe Iguanas when it was Versace was popping, right? Versace, but nobody knew it was the Migos. They thought it was a Drake song. Right. Everybody thought it was Drake's freestyle. Nobody knew it was Migos' song.
Because Drake was just taking over everybody's first verse back then. If you had a hot record, Drake was like, my verse first.
Exactly. So,
but that was smart for the people.
Exactly. Though. But in essence, it kind of put Migos on the map because then they came out with Versace. But that same night, from leaving Cafe Iguanas, something popped off.
I'm sorry, Drake took his beat too.
Whose beat?
If you got Masego, it's champagne poetry. If you got a hot beat, Drake is like, mine's
done. And then you're erased from history. So I didn't know that it was their song, but then I kept on hearing them because I was at the club that night. Big ups to Migos. I'm like, who's Migos? Who are these guys? So fast forward, they're on my show, and that night when they left Cafe Iguanas, something happened on 95, a shootout. It was crazy. It was like a Wild Wild West story. So I need to go back to that because it happened in Florida. I was at the club. I'm asking them about it, and Quavo was like, nah, we're not going to do that. You got to come on my show and tell me how to conduct my interview. So I turned his mic off. And you're late. Steve. And you're late.
Mute the room.
I fucks with you, man.
No, but as a woman, like you wouldn't do that to, like, you know what I mean? So don't do that to me. Like, you're coming into my house. I'm playing your music. You're late, so I need to. There's got to be an even exchange here.
See, it's your fault that they was going to beat Joe Button up. That's her fault, right? Because Quavo was thinking the last time someone did him like that.
38 high.
But that's what happens on Clubhouse now all the time. You can be in mid speaking.
But it's different when you're in front of somebody because he wanted to beat my ass. I was like, what? And I got to this. So my boy DJ Epps, it was Jack Thriller was there that night too.
DJ Epps and shout out to Jack.
Jack Thriller was there. DJ Epps in the other room. My boy Bulletproof. They're all looking like, what is going on in the studio? So I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm like this. When somebody does this in New York,
no, when a black woman does that.
Okay,
not everybody gets away with that.
All right,
gets away with clapping.
When a black woman claps like that,
oh, you're done.
Like, okay, what you want to do? So then it was like we had to reset the room. Because we had to continue. I'm like, I'm still going to play your music. He said, you need to apologize. I'm not apologizing to you. You need to apologize to me for being late. I'm still playing your music. Respect me. Don't tell. There's a way that you can answer a question respectfully instead of trying to cut me off and overtalk me.
Oh, no, we're not going to do that, Kay. I'm sorry.
That was the issue.
Couldn't help it.
As a media coach, you could have been like, there's some legal allegations happening. I can't answer that right now.
Right.
Thank you. But don't try to disrespect me and overtalk me and then act like I'm not going to check you. So I turned this mic off. And
that's that Sagittarius fire right there.
No, this is Scorpio fire.
Oh, you're a Scorpio?
Yes.
Are you sure? Oh,
I'm
not sure. It says on the internet your birthday's November 24th.
Oh, they're all wrong.
Okay.
The internet
so
lies.
not are you sure?
I'm October 26th.
November 24th is... What is wrong with me today? November 24th is Sagittarius, but they have your wrong birthday.
Oh, yeah, they messed up. I'm October 26th. Big up to all the Scorpios.
Oh, okay, my fault. I take it back. I'm not Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo. So shout out
Was that wrong for turning the mic off?
That's hilarious.
I don't, you know what?
It was a slow fade too, like this. It was a slow fade. And he was like talking and not hearing himself.
So he was like, no.
Yes.
Is there
Poor
video
Quavo.
footage of this?
Yes.
Oh my God, I need to see it.
And then that was, remember you and Jack Thriller got into it with 2 Chainz? It was the same night. Because Jack was like, how could, and then we had a conversation. He was like, Kay, that same night I got into it with 2 Chainz. When
Jack
2
Thriller
Chainz cursed out.
Him telling that story is hilarious.
Yo, it was the most fun. 2 Chainz cursed the shit out of Jack Thriller. That same night.
Yeah, shout out to, okay.
Shout out to who, Talib? Who?
No, I was about to say shout out to Quincy Harris.
Okay,
right?
yes.
In Philadelphia.
What up, Q-Deezy?
I was watching a clip of you and him talking to some pastor.
Oh.
There was a pastor in Philly or Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he was like, these women's with their long beastly nails.
Oh, no.
And they come to the church and they dress like harlots. And,
Harlots?
Right. And they wear makeup.
Those are hoes.
Right.
For those who don't know.
And Kay was like, well, I got on makeup. I have my nails done. Can I not go to your church? And he was like, hey, the words I say is not my words. Those are words from the Bible. It's
From
not
the
me.
Bible
It's not me
says
telling
no
you
long
this.
nails? Stop it.
Let me tell you. But it's true. Like, what? We're not admitted because of the way that we look. You know what I mean? The pimps and hoes go to church too. Like, if you
pimps and hoes run the church sometimes.
They run the church.
You didn't hear from me.
Sometimes a pimp, okay? Let's be clear.
Or they used to be. Most pastors used to be in the streets. Let's be real.
That's why they trying to get saved now.
Right, but you seem like you had a good time in Philly. Foxx show.
Yeah. Philly was dope. I actually made some really dope connections. I connected with my mentor now. One of the reasons why I'm media coaching is because of Deanna Williams. She has a very successful media coaching firm called Influence Entertainment, and then she took me under her wing, and we developed a rapport and a friendship while I was in Philly. She is the founder of Black Music Month. Like, this woman is so phenomenal that she saw the light in me. And it was because I was in Philly. So sometimes I would be in Philly like, why am I here? But that's some of the best music came out of there.
Philly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a relationship with Questlove. You know what I'm saying? Just so many phenomenal people that came out of Philly. It was meant to be. Yes. And so now, because I was there, it also diversified my resume. Now I'm media coaching because of Deanna Williams. Hi, Deanna. I love you.
Shout out to Philadelphia. The city of brotherly love.
Philly.
That's right. And sisterly affection.
That's right.
Let's talk about the Foxx Princess Project proms.
Yes.
Number one, can you talk about how important it is for young women, especially young Black women, to being allowed to feel beautiful on their own terms without the male gaze?
Well, yeah. I remember when I was in high school, going to the prom, right? But it's not like when you're in the suburbs, that whole thing. We in the city, we got like a limo with the lights underneath it and the booming system. Like, that was my prom situation.
The cocaine white limo.
Yeah. And like we didn't have dates. We just went all as friends. So that was fine. But it's expensive. You know what I mean? The hair, the nails, the outfits. Even you had to pay to go to the prom at the time too. You had to have a prom ticket.
Still probably.
I'm like, this is expensive. So then, as I started thinking about all these high school, kids that were graduating that might want to go to the prom but can't celebrate their crossing over into adulthood because of their financial situation, I was like, that's not right. So what I did was, I basically went to different organizations and maybe a Macy's or something like that, or a place that gave out shoes, you know what I'm saying, and combined them, and I was able to give the gift of beautification to graduating seniors. But they also had to have some plans after, whether you're going, I don't know, if you wanted to go to the military, fine, a certain GPA, whatever your career aspirations were after that. But it's just some sort of plan after that, after high school, and give them their hair, their makeup, their dresses, a limousine ride, and just make them feel like a beautiful princess for that night, crossing into adulthood. Because after high school, it's a done deal.
Dog world.
It's a wrap. You know what I mean? So I'm very passionate about that. And I want to bring that back this year again, because I did it in all the markets that I was in, especially in Philly. I did it when I was in New York, and it was a huge success. So I think it's very important.
For sure.
I never went to prom.
Well,
why not?
Because I was... thought I was too cool for prom.
Oh my gosh.
Prom was fun.
It's
like,
fun.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like a celebration of all the stuff you went through high school.
I was like a rebel. Like, I'm not going to prom. That's
you missed it.
That's the system.
What is up next with Foxx?
Well, of course, continuing my philanthropy. That's very near and dear to my heart. I'm currently a mentor for the Broward County school systems, and it's for the School of Performing Arts, and my mentee is a visual artist. So maybe a week or so ago, I took her to this interactive museum called Super Blue. And I just wanted to give her places so she can get inspired, like if that's what you want to be, let's put you in these settings to nurture you. So I think that's important. So I'm going to continue to do that, working on bringing back my Foxx project. And I am working with Fubu Radio. So that's getting back into radio, but through the internet, because now that I'm not a slave to the mic anymore, like I was like, it's very nerve-wracking. Like you have to, it's kind of like a 9 to 5 when you're in the studio, because you still have to be there, but it was very taxing as well. You know what I mean? So now I kind of have a little bit of freedom to do what it is that I want to do. And I think the pandemic opened up the platform for digital radio now. Sure. And you can be anywhere. I could be on an island somewhere and still be able to produce a dope-ass show. So hence I'm working with Fubu Radio and my media coaching. And one of my first people that I media coach is Miss Ego.
Shout out to Miss Ego.
It's insane. No, it couldn't have been better.
Right. It's divine.
You know what I mean? It's kismet.
Well, I'd love some of your coaching.
Yes. Well, your time and energy is very valuable to us.
Yes. Wait. I have a question for you.
Oh, you have a question for me? Okay.
So.
Yes.
Kanye's documentary.
Oh, yes. We loved it.
Dope documentary.
Yes.
Really dope. Shout out to Cootie. And shout out to Chike, who was around at the time.
Genius.
And what about Kanye?
Shout out to Kanye. What?
I'm watching it, right? I'm like, okay, let me watch this. I had Kweli immediately. You need to watch this because you are all through this. I didn't know the way that you really supported Kanye and put him on, because he was getting sun left and right. He was very talented, but not a lot of people believed in him. And seeing how you supported him in that early stage of becoming Kanye, right? You brought him out. You co-signed for him, all types of stuff. And then fast forward to the interview that he did with Drink Champs, and when they asked the question about Talib or Common, and he picked Common, but it just kind of like, it seemed a little disrespectful because of the way that you supported him in his career. Even if that's how he felt subjectively as an artist, he could have gave some context and background as to how you supported him in his career.
Right.
Well, everything has context and background. And what I learned from watching that was a lesson for me, is that the response that I get from people, oh, wow, I didn't know. Oh, wow, how could Kanye be so mean to him after? That surprise response. The lesson I learned from that is that everyone is not in my head. And because I know the story so intimately, sometimes I forget that not everybody was there to see
You
it.
didn't even remember a scene when y'all was in the car.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know who that person is.
Yeah, I don't remember being in that car, but I was clearly me.
When Cootie first moved to New York.
But I realized that, okay, the reason why people didn't, because, you know, I was upset by the things he said. And people accused me of being too upset.
What do you mean during the
Drink Champs?
Okay.
Right? And people accused me of being too upset, but some of those same people are now coming back with like, oh, I see. And what I didn't understand was they didn't have my lens.
Right.
They weren't there to see why he shouldn't be saying those things. Now, when I first met Kanye, he wasn't looking for me. He was looking for Yasin Bey. When Kanye and me were hanging out at that time, it's not like he was like, oh my God, you're a great MC. I think he understood that I had access to things that he was trying to get to. And I was providing him with certain opportunities. So I don't get mad when people don't like my music, because it's all subjective, right? I don't get, for Kanye to say, I like Common better than Kweli, not only does that not make me mad, but shit, it's common sense. What an honor to be compared to such a great MC. But when Kanye West says, Common is 1,000 times better than Talib Kweli. Well, nobody's 1,000 times better than me. Not one nigga. Not nan nigga is 1,000 times better than me. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. And you could be subjective.
Not nan
but
nigga.
now you being hyperbolic. And now you lying. Because Common's not 1,000 times. You're saying that because your feelings are hurt.
Right.
And you're saying Kweli should just read himself to death. And I'm sick of Kweli sending me these texts, because when you were saying all that MAGA bullshit, I was the only one in your circle sending you text, sending you links to information. No, bro, slavery is not a choice. No, bro, when you say that the Democrats started the KKK, you're missing an awful lot of context where the Democrats were conservatives back then, and you're rolling with the conservatives now. So you're leaving out, and his response to me back then was like, I don't want to read all this. This is what he would text me. I don't want to read all this. Put it in digestible
In bullets?
bullet points, which is, he
Give me a
literally said this.
PowerPoint.
He said, put it in bullet points so I could tweet it. And I did. And he tweeted it. So when I saw him on Drink Champs said, Kweli tries to make me read. All right, bro. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That's the worst thing you could say about me.
Rainbow.
So he was trying to say things that he thought would be harmful because his feelings were hurt, that I didn't support him in the MAGA stuff. And so he was like, Kweli wears baseball hats. Well, look at your haircut, bro.
It was,
and you just did a song with Fabio Foreign in which you rap about how you like a Yankee cap. So you're not really cognizant of what you're saying. But the thing that I didn't like the most was I'm posing as a backpacker.
you said that during the Drink Champs.
During the Drink Champs,
yes.
because that was harmful not just to me, but to everyone who came out of that scene.
Yes.
You're disrespecting everyone that came out of the scene. But what I do respect is, I do respect the honesty. Okay, you're being honest. I never liked how the nigga rapped. And when challenged or why you were hanging out with him, if you didn't like how he rapped, well, I was posing as a backpacker. How could I be mad at that honesty?
I guess you can't.
You could be mad at it because at the time he didn't say that he was posing. It was now.
Well, I do think it's fake.
Yeah.
But I got some bars for him. I got a couple little jabs that he gonna have to just take these jabs.
What do you mean?
Like in my lyrics. I got a couple songs coming out where I talk about just a couple. But the thing about like him coming from my lyrics my daughter said this earlier, like, my music is who I am. So if you coming for my fucking lyrics, then you better be prepared. Now, I made fun of Kanye for having ghostwriters, which he does. I'm not against...
That was your jab. I was like...
I'm not against ghostwriters, because to me, the song is king.
Because I ghostwrite for Talib.
That's right.
Hello.
The song is king. The jam is king, right? Whatever you got to do to get there. I'm not against ghostwriters. But don't come from my pen if you use ghostwriters, right? And I will say that Kanye doesn't need ghostwriters. Some of the best bars that we've heard from Kanye have come from Kanye.
I got a white girl who looked like Michael Jackson.
He might not have wrote that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's a good one.
It's funny.
That's a good one, right? Kanye West, with or without help, has given us some of the most amazing bars in hip-hop history. But when you come for my bars, and then the next bars that you got coming out, you rap battling your kids, talking about they spoiled and bougie. Who battles their kids on the...
They bad and bougie.
You talking about you gonna have the goons go after Pete Davidson. Those are shitty, trashy fucking bars.
And not only...
And Kanye West owes us better than that based on the bars that he's given us before that.
And not only that, he said in the documentary that he's not from the streets, so I don't know what goons he was sending anyway.
He was posing as a street guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The other thing, you mentioned Yasin Bey. Black Star, one of my favorite hip-hop groups. And
that's another thing. Kanye says in a Drink Champs interview that the new Black Star album, produced entirely by Madlib, is the best album that he's heard since Dark Fantasy, which is a strange thing to say if you don't like the way I rap. Yeah, but please go on.
We got to talk about hip-hop names, right? Because we talked about names before. Donna
Rollins.
I'm about to mess up his name.
What up, son?
Mos Def has one of the illest hip-hop names in hip-hop history.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was all about the name of hip-hop. What's your name gonna be? What's your name? You know what I mean? When he changed his name, gotta respect, let an artist do what artist does. But why? And when and did you guys have a conversation and where you like, don't do it? You know what I mean?
No, I'm fully supportive of that. I mean, look at who I am. My name is Talib Kweli. That's my real name.
But you've been that.
Right. Yasin Bey, is one of the most spiritual people I've ever encountered. And one of the best things about our relationship musically is that he challenged me as a writer all the time to remove myself from the earthly world. Why? We're not competing with these other MCs. Our job as artists is to vibrate higher. Our job as artists is to get as close to the spiritual as we can. And he felt like at a certain point, Mos Def was a product that he didn't have the control over that he wanted. Mos Def belonged to the industry. Mos Def belongs to the people. He can only act a certain way as Mos Def. And this man is always trying to get closer to God. Some people just say that as a phrase. This man is really trying to get closer to God at every single instance. And so after being Mos Def for a long time and dealing with the weight of what Mos Def is supposed to represent, he's like, that's not who I am. It's a product I created, but I'm gonna let the people have it. Who I am is Yasin Bey. And if you respect who I am, you gotta respect that I'm Yasin Bey. And Yasin Bey is closer to who I actually am. And if that's my mission, then that's why I'm gonna call myself that.
I just wanna thank you guys for giving us Brown Skin Lady, because now everybody wanna talk about, Black Girl Magic now. Yes. We've been Magic.
That's right.
You know what I mean? We've been Magic. And for people that understand that, you guys championed that a long time ago.
Right. Well, I want to thank y'all for being Magic. How about that?
Thank you. But representing that in hip hop though is different. You know what I mean? I want to rap up that. Okay, fine. You like what you like, but giving that platform for Black women to feel empowered and beautiful, I thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, K Foxx.
Loved it.
Yes.